What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Pokemon Podcast. It's super effective. I'm your host, Steve. With me is Hannah.
Yeah, I'm still here. I don't know. I've had a stressful cat week. My cat got into a few things that she wasn't supposed to get into, and then last night ran into a door as I was closing it. So I've just been worried about my cat all week. That's pretty much it. But she's fine. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty certain at this point. I have spent multiple nights staying up way too late observing her. I think she's fine.
All right. That laugh you heard was Greg. He's back.
Rumors of my firing were greatly over-exaggerated. So those of you in my DMs, it's fine. I was on, as I had said multiple times leading up to my break, on vacation. I went to a place for a vacation for the first time in 4 years, and I was there, and then I came home.
Yeah, and now you're back.
And now I'm back.
Crazy how that works.
You know, it's a thing called vacation.
Can't wait to take one.
We can only dream.
That was a very expensive vacation. Boy, that place is expensive.
So we did a bonus episode last week. It was myself, Hannah, and Bobby. We just really talked about the DLC. Obviously, the Pokemon Presents. There was a lot to cover. There's still a lot to cover. So Greg's here now, and the game updated to 1.2, which it updated the day of the Pokemon Presents. And I wanted to talk about it, and we knew the notes before the game updated. But I got a bone to pick with these notes.
The notes in particular, just the notes, not the people that wrote the notes, just the notes. You notes are poorly organized and poorly worded, and I do not care for how you've arranged yourself on the page.
How dare you?
How dare you put bug fixes there?
So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the notes of what was updated. There's a new bug, I guess, that I was debating about talking about. I don't want to, fear monger of, don't play Sword and... Don't play
Sword and Shield, because that game's good. Go ahead. Go back to Sword and Shield. That game slaps. Scarlet
I've been thinking about going back to it because of this bug.
Take your chances at this point with the little SV, because you may never be able to play your game again.
And then there's a new Pokemon GO Community Day, and we didn't talk about Pokemon Sleep. So those are the three topics we're going to do today. But let's start with the notes. Let's start with the 1.2 patch now here. Okay, so originally before the patch came out, they said that there was some more things they were going to do in the patch that was going to surprise and delight us or whatever. Maybe those weren't those exact words, but
it may have surprised us, but I highly doubt the delight part came in.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so the new features added. We got 3 bullet points here. I'm unacceptable. I want 4. Okay, so the first thing is they added the Hidden Treasures of Area Zero DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet games. They can be accessed via the main menu.
For some reason, I'm going to say this. For some reason, when I watched the trailer, I thought you bought one, and it was for both games. But that does not seem to be the case again.
No, you buy one
you have to
get 2 different DLCs.
2 different DLCs, but you still have to buy them individually for each game.
Yes, they are functionally the same.
And this was the same for Sword and Shield.
It was, but for some reason...
Because people were buying the wrong version.
When I watched
Nintendo
the trailer...
was being like, oh, you can't return DLC. Yeah. And they were like, but I can't... I don't know how you buy the wrong version.
Oh, it's easy. You booked a flight for the complete wrong date, so don't even come at me for how do you buy it for the wrong version.
This podcast is over. You didn't take 2.5 weeks off, Greg, to come back to attack me about date man. The calendars are hard.
They are not hard. They're hard-coded dates. It's been that way for 1,500 years or whatever the current calendar that we're using is in place. I don't know. Al, tell us all about calendars and Slack.
I had a good time with Nick not going to PAX. Okay, so the DLC is there to purchase. It's $5 more expensive. I don't know if we talked about that last week, but Sword and
why
Shield
is it
was
more expensive? Twice.
Sword and Shield was $29.99. This is $34.99. Trainers can enjoy online competitions and friendly competitions in the Battle Stadium. Entries are now open for the new online competition, Paldea Prologue. So I think the like 40 people out there that still play single battles and haven't transitioned into double battles because it's too complicated for them, I think they're happy that you can now have a longer timer in single battles. So finally, you can do 60 minutes of rapid spin spikes.
Is that the new singles meta for this one?
It hasn't changed. It's always the meta.
The timer seemed pretty big. The people who do play that format were very excited about it.
They were. Finally, they can toxic stall even longer in singles.
That's how you win.
The dream. And then the other new feature they added was players can now connect their games to Pokemon Go. So this was one of the surprise and delights is we have Pokemon Go compatibility. Actually, we'll get to that, but I think that is really cool. Feature adjustments. They added functionality to the boxes because they were lacking.
Yeah, they didn't do anything. They still did add in mass release, though.
From a Pokemon summary, players can now change Pokemon nicknames, markings, held items, and mark or ribbon-related titles, as well as reorder moves, have Pokemon remember or forget moves, and use TMs. This, in itself, great. Perfect. No complaint. Actually, a great change. It was really weird that you couldn't...
It's weird to say that it was a great change because everybody assumed it should have done that from the beginning. So we caught up with what everybody wanted. So thank you.
We're back
I'm kind of surprised
games.
it's not in bug fixes.
Yeah, like it felt like that was a bug. Like,
hey, that is a feature, Greg.
Yes.
We are blessing you with the ability to change your marks in the box, which you could do in past games,
you could
but
do
not
that
this
before.
one.
Well, it's a feature now, baby, not a bug. If we don't call it a bug, it's not.
We're gonna charge you an extra $5 in the DLC for that one.
For that one. Oof.
Players can now also swap out held items by pressing the Y button. I think old games did this as well, but, that's back. Players can now select all boxes while moving Pokemon or items in the party box view and held item views. Okay, that for sure was a thing in old games. What they're saying here is you could take, 7 Pokemon and then hover over a box and just drop them in, and that you couldn't do before, and you can do it now. You could do it in past games. That's back. And then when in battle team view, Pokemon in your boxes that are assigned to a battle team will now have their icons displayed in a darker hue if those Pokemon members are in a battle team being currently displayed. They just changed some color so you know which Pokemon are battle teamed or not. Okay, some bug fixes. There's a lot here. Debatable if they were fixed or not, but... there was a bug that prevented the opposing Terra Pokemon HP from visually reflecting damage dealt by certain moves, such as Play Rough.
Yeah. Really?
Or damage dealt at the same time that a certain status condition is applied. This actually happened a lot in Greninja where it would be paralyzed, but it would take a full turn for it to reflect paralysis, causing the Terra... overall, this would cause the Terra Pokemon's HP gauge to fluctuate in an unusual manner. This has been fixed. So I think it's been pretty confirmed that specifically Play Rough is fixed. The first time we heard about the Play Rough issue was with Charizard.
Yep.
Back in the day. And it was funny because during that time it was was it Huge Power? Was it Play Rough? Was it this? Was it that? And to me it was always Play Rough because I would see non-Huge Power Azumarill use Play Rough and the HP power would 1 minute.
Bring him back. Bring them all back. We need them back in. We're
Here's
lost
the thing,
without you.
Here's the thing, though. That bug didn't stop any Azumarill user from bringing Azumarill to a raid.
Why? It's not the player's fault. It's the game. Don't hate the player. Hate the game.
And there was a bug that caused all Pokemon against Pokemon with the mightiest mark. This has been fixed. I've had this happen. Not a lot. I've had it happen maybe once or twice during Cinderace, but... glad to know that was a bug. because it was very weird to be like, oh,
we're all dead.
I was watching health, and we were looking pretty green, and now we're looking pretty empty.
That doesn't make sense.
And then you kind of think of like, oh, did like Reflect wear off, and then Incinerate just happened to crit everyone?
to fire off 4 things in a row and hit everybody at the exact same time? Yeah. Terror raids.
There was a bug that prevented players from entering any input in the game that could occur if a Terra Pokemon took actions while a player was choosing the target of the move. This has been fixed. I disagree with that one, but okay. Errors could occur when someone connecting to a Terra Raid battle saw a different Pokemon displayed on the stream than what the host saw. That has been fixed. I have never seen that. A bug could occur that caused a player joining a Terra Raid battle from the Terra Battle search screen to be brought to a Terra Raid battle against a different Pokemon than they have seen. That has been fixed. Also, I've never had that issue. Is that supposed to be like, I saw a Pincurchin, and then all of a sudden I'm fighting a Hydreigon?
Yeah. But I also have had the thing where I have selected the right Pokemon, but the display in the front shows something completely not what I picked. I'm like, where did that come from? And then it goes with the one that I didn't pick. That's how I ended up in that one raid with a level 30 Timpole. I'm like,
oh, yeah.
I did not pick this. I did not do this, but we're going to make the best of it, I guess.
And then there was a bug that caused Terra Raid Battle crystals to stop appearing for a set amount of time that could occur under certain circumstances. That has been fixed. So going back to the one that says like, sometimes when you go to like heal cheer or defense cheer, you would get stuck in that menu. That issue is still there.
Yeah, you still get stuck.
That has not been fixed.
And I mean, we could speculate maybe that's why randoms in your raids don't heal cheer, because they're terrified of getting stuck.
I don't blame them.
But yeah, and when you're trying to play like a healer, like a Klefki or a Grimmsnarl or something, and you're like, okay, I gotta go heal cheer. I do notice that it happens at certain times. Like it definitely happens when the boss is like about to clear, where it's like I'm more likely to get stuck versus the boss is just using high jump kick. Because all Pokemon know high jump kick. But it is a very frustrating issue still to get stuck in the cheer menu.
You're just in there, and you can't do anything but watch everybody else keep doing the raid.
Yeah, you kind of hope like you die, because that'll at least get you out of the menu faster.
Please let me die, and then I can do something.
Battles. Type matchups against Pokemon that have fainted will no longer appear while selecting move or target during double battles. I've seen this bug before. This is like if you're doing ranked ladder or just... this is specifically for like online battles. But I've noticed if you're doing a 4v4, and this would only really work for 4v4. Actually, it wouldn't work for singles because there's not 2 Pokemon on the field. Let's say you were doing a 4v4 and you have you're against like a Hydreigon and a Grimmsnarl. And then the Hydreigon dies, and so it's your 2 Pokemon against just a Grimmsnarl, and one of your Pokemon is Garchomp. It would have said that the Dragon Claw is super effective against the Grimmsnarl. I've seen this tons of times because I watch competitive, but it's not super effective against the Grimmsnarl. It's saying that it was super effective because there used to be a Hydreigon on the field, and it would have been super effective against that. So
I'm pretty sure I ran into that during maybe a gym battle or something as well. I know I ran into that during normal gameplay.
So that would have been the Ghost Girl. Rhyme.
It might have been. It might have also just been, let's see. One Pokemon fainted and then the other was sent out, and it was right in that moment.
Oh, okay. So I think if you're a competitive player, if your whole thing is competitive, I don't think you use that feature anyways, because you're probably already thinking like, I know what move I need to hit against Grimmsnarl, and it's definitely not Dragon Claw. But I definitely saw people go like, oh, well, it says this is super effective, and I'm like, that's not true. That's not going to do any damage because that's a fairy Pokemon. And then they learned the hard way that did indeed do no damage. So that has been fixed. We have fixed a bug in which Zoroark that have terrestrialized and was disguised as another Pokemon via its illusion ability could have been identified by Zoroark using the check target option. I don't know what that is, but okay. We have
It's
fixed
when
the,
you focus. It's when you're aiming, I think. Like
but
when
it
you're
says
pressing the trigger button.
terrestrialize. That has terrestrialized.
Wouldn't it be one of the roaming?
No, this is specifically saying a bug when Zoroark has
Okay.
terrestrialized.
Okay.
I wonder if in battle, if Zoroark terrestrialized, it revealed that it was Zoroark, even though it hasn't been revealed that it's Zoroark. I think that's what they're saying. Check target would be when you hit the Y button to check if there's like reflect up, or to check if like something is -1. So I think in that menu. Look, there's not a lot of competitive Zoroarks going around. It's probably a very specific bug. We have fixed a bug where the type matchup for targeting Zoroark had terrestrialized disguised as another Pokemon. So this is kind of piggybacking off the first one. We have fixed a bug where the stats of Dondozo with a Tatsuguri in its mouth increased Dondozo's used order up when the move should have been negated. For example, if a Pokemon used Protect. We have fixed a bug where the effects of Destiny Bond failed to activate if a terrestrialized Pokemon the turn after used Destiny Bond and then failed. That seems like a very specific bug, but okay. I don't think it says here, but I swear I read it. We're reading this off NintendoLife.com. But I think they said they fixed a bug where a Pokemon would randomly reappear on the battlefield in a double battle. You couldn't attack it or anything. It would just like show up.
Hi, I'm back. I'm the ghost of the thing you killed. I'm here to
Yeah,
haunt
it was
your
pretty
battle.
great. Some other things, we addressed an issue that made the game prone to forcibly close at certain locations. As a result of this fix, there may be fewer Pokemon and people displayed in certain towns or the wild. I think this is like a pretty big one. There are still people that tell me they've never had their game crash, which
Bless your heart.
I think you guys are all lying. I
Bless
think
your
this is a
heart.
big conspiracy. You guys are all working.
Not
You guys are all in
lying.
a
No.
Discord
At almost
together.
200 hours.
We know you don't play the actual game, Hannah. You are just turning it on and letting it sit on a screen for 200 hours.
See,
No,
I
I've
think it
tried
would have
that.
crashed then.
Yeah, I've tried that. I've tried standing there for like 30 minutes not doing anything, and the second I pick up my controller, the game
I'm
crashed.
out. I'm done. How dare you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably up to like maybe like 15, 16 crashes in the 350 hours I've had. To be fair, since the update, I haven't had it crash 0 times.
I mean, to be
I-
fair, neither have I, but I only played twice.
I wish this bullet point was more specific, because it says, as a result of the fix, there may be fewer Pokemon or people in certain areas or towns. And of course, I saw social media run crazy with this. I saw people just make up statistics like they're removing 25% of all the Pokemon. That's just not true, right? Like, I went through.
Blah.
I went through, yeah, it's actually 50%. Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
went through I did the whole map, right? Since the update. 1.2 did the whole map.
You went to
and
Leg Lake? Did you leg out
I went to
Leg
Leg Lake. I went to Leg Forest. I went to Leg Mountain. Like, I've been everywhere. And I thought to myself, there are probably less Pokemon here, but I can't remember. Or like, it's so hard to tell because I'm still seeing Pokemon. Like I'm not in
It's
Leg
not that
Lake.
noticeable.
Yeah, it's not like I'm in Leg Lake and I'm like, wow, there are no Pokemon around me. Dang you, game freak.
Yeah, the
Like-
world still feels very populated.
Yeah. And as for like NPCs, I like, you would have had to been like documenting them or writing them down, because I've been in towns and I'm like, this all looks the same.
I knew everybody's name in every town. So if they got rid of Frederico, I'm going to be furious.
We have fixed a bug in which a Pokemon that is not part of the Paldea Pokedex, so that would be like Charizard, was displayed as being registered to the Paldea Pokedex after being obtained through a link trade. I'm not 100% sure what that is, but okay. Certain actions prevented main characters' expressions from changing until the game was closed and reopened. This bug has been fixed.
I ran into that multiple times. It was very frustrating.
They fixed a bug with battle rank rewards. They have fixed a bug which a player may have not received the master rank ribbon if they have registered several battle teams but not have used the battle team in the first slot when winning ranked battles in Master Ball tier. We have fixed a bug in which a Pokemon that you have caught may not have listened to your commands in ordinance of what was written in the profile app. So it would be like if a Pokemon was caught at level XX or below, they would listen to your commands. If that Pokemon was link traded back to you from another trainer.
Oh, I see.
So
And
that
we had
was-
just had a discussion in the Slack the day before the patch notes were released about exactly that, trying to figure out if it was a bug or not.
We have fixed a bug in which new information may not have been added to your Pokedex after you receive a shiny Pokemon or a Pokemon caught by a trainer who played a different language via surprise trade if you have already had that species registered to your Pokedex. Objects such as Pokeballs could be displayed in certain areas was an unintentional. This has been fixed. Bummer. What about the Slowbros that appeared
Yeah,
in
keep the Slowbros, though, because that was amazing.
Passerbys are no longer displayed during certain battles that take place in towns or during the main story, and a number of other bugs have been fixed. So a couple things not listed here. I guess not a bug, but if you played battles, online battles, you could only play in the schoolyard. Which, let me tell you, after playing 3 years of Sword and Shield and being in a huge stadium, having grandma cheer behind you with like 4 kids is not really the competitive
Nah.
scene that I personally want.
But, I'm happy she showed up.
Yeah, she keeps showing
It's
up.
hard for her to get out of the house these days. So the fact that she comes to your pathetic battles really shows her love for you.
That's true. But now you can battle in the Elite Four room. You can see that room once again.
But there's nobody in that room. Is it just
Yeah,
the 4
but-
Elite Four members going like, why are we here? We
No,
have
it's just
stuff to do
empty.
except for the
It's
toddler that
empty.
needs to go get her diaper changed.
And then I think you can battle on that beach area where you first fight Nimona. So there are more stadiums, and I think they updated the camera in battles, so it's a little more dynamic. I wasn't sure if this was a bug. It's not mentioned here. I verified it before 1.2. I verified it after 1.2. This is infuriating to me, and people on the internet are dumb, and they didn't understand what I was saying, and I'm very mad about it because I think it does take away a lot of what I think is fun about Pokemon, which I'm going to say RNG is fun about Pokemon, but like that it is to an extent. That's why people shiny hunt. But I think it was in Gen 5 they introduced, or maybe Gen 6, they introduced critical catching. And what that is it was like an increased chance that you're a guaranteed catch, or not a guaranteed catch. I think it was technically behind the code. It's like ×8. So like a quick ball when you use it on turn 1 is like ×5. A repeat ball is always like ×4 as long as you have the Pokemon registered. But it would take so if you had a quick ball and then critical catch activated, it would multiply those two together, right? And it would be almost a critical catch. So I feel like I know specifically in Sword and Shield, the more Pokemon you caught per your dex, the more likely you were to get critical catches. And I was hitting critical catches left and right in Pokemon Sword and Shield. It was great, right? It's a great feeling, in my opinion, to be like, this Pokemon has a really bad catch rate, or, I've thrown like 20 Pokeballs at this Pokemon, and then all of a sudden critical catches, you catch it, feels great, right? Critical catches have been around for 10 plus years in Pokemon games. They exist in Pokemon GO. They act how they should in Pokemon GO, right? Like, I think Pokemon GO, it's like a 1 in 200 chance to crit catch or something like that. I don't know, Niantic will never tell you. In this game, that doesn't exist anymore. And if it did exist, it's impossible to tell. And I made a video about this, and this is why I say people are dumb, because half of the comments were like, well, you're using a Pokeball. The ball doesn't matter. The Pokemon I am catching doesn't matter. You could literally test this yourself. It is the easiest thing to test. So what happens in Scarlet and Violet is that if you're looking at a Lechonk and you go to throw a Pokeball to Lechonk, and the first time you catch Lechonk, you'll get the 1 shake, 2 shake, 3 shake, click, and then you catch Lechonk, right? Every Lechonk you catch after that Lechonk will always critical catch, but it's not critical catching. That's the thing. It is just giving you the critical catch animation for a successful catch. So why this is infuriating is once you know about it, you're never going to unsee it. But what it means is every Pokeball you throw, if it doesn't shake in the air, which is the critical catch animation, so the ball soars, hits the Pokemon. It does this weird shake, and you're like, okay, it's going to critical catch, and then it clicks in the air. If it doesn't do that, it's never going to catch. So every time you throw a Pokeball at a Pokemon now, if it doesn't click in the air, it's a failed catch, no matter what. And it's a bummer because the suspense, there's so many suspenseful things in Pokemon, right? There's like when you're like battling Mewtwo and he's 1 HP and he's asleep and you're on like your 50th Pokeball and it's like 1 shake, 2 shake, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's the 3rd shake. And then all of a sudden it breaks out. You're like, nah, right? Like it's like that. But you don't get that anymore, right? Because if it hits that Lechonk and then it drops to the ground and you're like 1 shake, 2 shake, 3 shake, you already know that it didn't catch. So again, you can test this. As long as the Pokemon is registered in your Pokedex, you will always critical catch it. So ultimately, there is no suspense because once you know that it's going to critical catch, you're like, well, the 3 shakes is useless because I know it's not going to catch. Secondly, it seems that critical catches are completely gone because if there is an increased catch rate of critical catch, you would never see it because it's just pretending everything is critical catch. Thirdly, I guess you would be able to test it before you caught a Pokemon of like, oh, I don't have a Stonejourner registered in my Dex and I just critical caught it. That's great. But that doesn't fix the afterthought of like, every Stonejourner after this would always be a critical catch. And thirdly, to all the people being like, well, the legendary Pokemon didn't do that. Yeah, because they're not registered in your deck, so you can only catch one of them.
Which means there's still the good suspense that you're looking for the legendary Pokemon. And I would argue that there is still suspense, it's just shortened. It's just a shorter length of time. It's like when you're doing a raid in Pokemon GO and you're down to your very last ball, and if it shakes once and doesn't break out, you know that you caught it. That's a shortened length of time. But if it shakes once and flees, that's all it's going to do. That's a hard analogy for people who don't understand that mechanic. Sorry.
I get the we're going to just crit catch all of the successful catches to save time. But I feel like you're instead also wasting a lot of time that I have to sit through a failed animation that I know is 100% failed. Like, again, it removes the suspensefulness of the 3 shakes because as soon as it drops to the ground, I know that it's not going to work. And I have to sit through that. Obviously, if you always use quick balls and you always use repeat balls, you have a higher catch rate, so you probably see that fail animation less. But if you're trying to catch things in luxury balls, which don't have increased catch rate, or premier balls don't have increased catch rate, you have to sit through that animation a lot. And again, I do think that the magic of critical catch is just gone at this point. Like, I can now that I've realized that this is a thing, I could go back and look at all my shiny catches and be like, every single one of those were a critical catch because I don't think I ever caught a shiny that I didn't already have registered in my Pokedex to begin with. So, again, the reason I bring that up is not to now ruin the magic that critical catch is kind of busted in this game, but it wasn't mentioned in the show notes.
Yeah, it was not mentioned in the show notes at all, and we need to talk about that.
It wasn't mentioned in the patch update, so I don't know if that's intentional or not. I do think there is value in speeding up the catch rate, and I think Legends did this really well, where Legends would... it was hard to see in Legends because mostly that color palette was bad and everything looked brown, and the Pokeballs were wooden, which are also a shade of brown. But when you caught in Legends, it would do the 3 shakes as it like fell to the ground. So it was saving time that way. Again, I think there is value in speeding up catching. I don't think this is the right way to do it. Or maybe it is still bugged and they haven't figured it out.
It's probably still bugged. Let's be real. It is probably still bugged.
But like for sure different in this game. Because again, in Sword and Shield, it was proven that the more Pokemon you caught, the more likely you were to get critical catch. So it was like, even if you didn't care about the Shiny Charm, filling out your Pokedex made your catching just better. It just did. Okay. Because we deal in science here, and because we are very scientific, and because we only use the world's best information, I did a Twitter poll.
Oh, good grief.
We got 2,526 votes. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. Could be more people. Could be less people.
Could be.
I think could be a lot of things. The question was simple. Do we think the recent update to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet fixed some of the performance issues? 46% says yes, it feels better. 54% says no, it feels the same. I don't know what to believe anymore. Because when I booted up the game, I went to the first thing I did after the update is I went to the lake and I drove around the lake and I was like, this feels better. And then I went to the forest and I was like, this feels better. And then when I was just going between places, I was like, I can't tell it if this is a placebo or not. I can't tell if it actually is better or not.
You need to have one game side by side with the other one that's not updated
that would
and
be
one
a good
that
go.
is.
That would be a good
Can you launch a non-updated one? Can you force it to launch
You can.
without
You just
updating?
can. Yeah, you just can't connect to the internet. Do you guys think it feels better?
No.
I think it does, but I know I want it to. And so I don't really trust myself.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of placebo effect. Like, you've been told that it feels better, and until you run into the major glitches, it's very hard for us to judge our own memories of, is it faster or is it slower? And I think people who really, 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 really want the game to be better are going to say, oh yeah, this is better. And people like me are like, it feels the same, but I'm also I'm no longer invested in this game. Like, they have sort of lost me on this game, and none of the bug fixes that I feel like they've put in have really addressed any of the issues that I was having with it. And none
Not
of
even the box stuff?
Yeah, it's just, there's like, I don't know, it doesn't feel fun.
Fixed.
Like the raids aren't great. Like, after the patch, when I did those terror raids, I was still running into menu hangups. Like, the things that I still actually do post game were not feeling any better. And I'm like, this is a nothing burger right now. Like, you didn't really address any of the performance issues that people are having. You alluded to them, but you didn't really address them. You fixed bugs that are in your notes are very, very specific, but nothing like, hey, we know you would fall through the earth sometimes. That's been fixed. Like, and so it's really hard to be like, oh, it's so much better when the things that I actually do, which are terror raid battles, feel exactly the same. I still get hung up on things. I haven't seen an Azumarill come in a long time, so I haven't run into the play rough bug in a while. So I don't know. I'm not into it, so it does not feel any different to me.
Hannah?
I mean, I already said I want it to be better, so I don't necessarily trust how I feel about it. But I do think that going and running around the lake, going and running around the places that did lag substantially before the patch, I do think it feels better. It's easier to just go and mindlessly collect items when running around the lake, which is something I've done a few times. So I had been holding off on getting the physical copies of these games until after the patch, because for reasons I had to get the digital copy when it came out, and I don't usually like having the digital copy. So patch came out, I ordered the physical copies, and I have them coming tomorrow, and I may just try to do that side by side of check to see whether without the update and with the update, is there a substantial difference there? At least when running around. I agree with Greg that I don't feel like the raids are much better, which is unfortunate because that really is the main thing that they're trying to use to get you to come back.
Yeah.
I like running around the map. I like doing random things outside of the raids. So I'm still happy with the game. I still want to live in this world. I'm still really loving these games. But the raids themselves still are not great.
Yeah, I think the first 15 minutes I had with the update, I was like, man, the boxes are fixed. The everything feels better. And then the more I played it, because I played a lot this past week, I was just more and more disappointed. Again, the first 15 minutes, I was like, man, I'm so happy with this. And then it kind of started to unravel of oh wait, this isn't fixed. This isn't fixed. I got stuck in the cheer menu. Like that was such a big, like in raids, like getting stuck in the cheer menu feels awful.
Huge disappointment.
And like there's 400 Pokemon in the game, right? If they were like, I would rather them fix the cheer menu thing than the play rough thing. Like there are 700 moves in this game. I can pick a different fairy type move, right? Like I need to cheer in every raid, and that's the thing that's not fixed. The box thing felt much better, so that was good. But again, there was just other things where I'm like, why hasn't this been fixed?
Mm-hmm. Why didn't you put mass release back in? Like, why? There are so many little things that have existed before that you still don't do. And it is sort of frustrating to be like, yeah, these are bugs that you need to fix. There are still bugs that exist that you haven't fixed, you haven't acknowledged. There's still performance issues. Like, you may have made it slightly better, but I think you needed to make it significantly better for people to really be like, this is amazing. They finally gave me the game that I wanted. And they just haven't delivered that yet.
I know, like, the speculation is like Game Freak is rushed and needs more time for these games and whatever. I think, if anything, this game shows it the most. Like, the fact that you couldn't even do the basic box movements that you could do in every Pokemon game before this, and like, oh, you added like, you're like, it was great to be like, oh, marks are coming back, because you never know, right? Anytime Game Freak adds a feature, it's like, are seasons in black and white coming back? Nope, that's only for that game.
Nope.
So it's like, oh, are marks only for Sword and Shield? Like, are alphas only for Legends Arceus? Like, we don't know until the next game. And the fact that they like added in those features and were like, you can now do this. It's like, we could have always done that. Right. It took you 3 months to like add it and fix it. It's a bit frustrating. And I know, like, the reason like they can't delay is because of the anime and the card game and all that stuff. And who knows?
It's really hard to say that it's rushed, right? Like, it's hard to say because we don't know what were decisions that they felt they didn't need to include. And then once the game was out, people are like, why did you get rid of this? And they're like, oh, we didn't think anybody cared. Like, it's hard to determine what was missed because they didn't think about it, what was a deliberate decision, and what was because they had a time crunch and couldn't complete it. And it's really hard to say, like, well, this is part of their box functionality. So given the fact that you all believe they copy and paste, that it would have had to have been a decision to not copy and paste that code, right? Like,
right.
They could always do it, so they deliberately chose not to include it for a reason. It's really hard to divine out exactly where in the process it either was missed, was a bug, or they didn't feel they needed to include it for some reason. So I always push against the idea that it was rushed, because every game, every project, everything is rushed at the end. There is no
100%.
There is no project that's like, we were done 7 months before. We've been coasting on nothing forever. Everybody is working on everything up until the minute that they can't. So I don't like talking about it was rushed, because we don't know what they prioritized. We don't know what their decisions were. And every project is chaos until they're like, just get it out the door. I do think, I've talked about this elsewhere, I do think what we are seeing across the board on all AAA games is the industry turning against QA and seeing quality assurance as skippable as part of their business, because they'll just let the player base do it for free and they'll weather the bad PR for a while. And I think that is a bigger issue that we are seeing across multiple platforms, across multiple instances, where they are doing the bare minimum of quality assurance because that's expensive and they don't want to pay those people, and just saying, there's no such thing as...
Also, leaks could happen.
Yeah. And also, there's no such thing as bad PR. And I think that's really hurting the industry everywhere right now.
Yeah, I mean, you make a really good point, Greg, is like, if the whole problem with Sword and Shield, or what people were mad about Sword and Shield, was the copy and paste, like, boxes should have been copy and pasted. Like, what they added in this update was everything we could have done in Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
for boxes.
For boxes,
And
it was already there. It's roughly the same engine. It doesn't make sense to say, "Oh, it was rushed." The functionality was there. It's there across multiple games.
So, like, could they just not get it fixed in time and then removed it, or did they not think it was important enough? Or now that I don't know, it's very frustrating to be like, the boxes here suck.
Yeah,
and now they added the thing that we wanted that should have been there day one, but they're still not perfect, right? Like, there's still things in the boxes that could be significantly better. I think there's a bigger conversation to be had of, like, I don't think 32 boxes of 30 is the correct way to organize Pokemon going forward. I think that system in itself is outdated. And I wonder if people are feeling that now that features were removed and then they came back and then they're just like, this is still not great. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if anyone's like rushing back to the game because the boxes are fixed, right?
Yeah,
like,
no.
I
think things like the boxes are hardcore fan issues.
Yeah.
And they have the feeling, true or not, they feel that they can, most companies feel this, that they can abuse hardcore fans more because they're more invested. So they can do more frustrating things to those people without paying a price, which is sort of a generally bad thing, the way that companies are behaving right now, that, like, we know you have your money, so we can deliver whatever to you and give you back things slowly, and you will be happy about it. Like, a lot of companies, I think, have a very cynical view about people who are very loyal to their product right now. I think that is just a general thing in the field.
Yeah, I would hope, though, that there are also people at Game Freak who love to play their own games, and they're like, hey, Bob, I need you to add that functionality back to the boxes. This is a...
I mean, I'm sure there are, but we already sort of know that Nintendo has when we've heard stories that they have a very negative feedback atmosphere, right? Like, you have to be very careful about the things that you call out, particularly in Nintendo in these games, to be not seen as a problem. And I think that is a culture problem that we learned with Kit and Krista, that we didn't talk about the right things with them, that the feedback loop in these companies in particular, although they seem to be good places to work for, giving feedback or calling out problems seems to be received very negatively. And so they are, again, like, I think there's a fear in company of saying, this is a problem, we need to add it back, and being a squeaky wheel, that, again, they're relying on the fan and the public groups to be the people who don't have to report to them and rely on their paycheck, to be the loud squeaky wheel that they finally can say, well, we brought this up, we tried to let you know, but we didn't want to make a big thing about it, you know? I do think there is a slightly bad feedback culture in Game Freak and in Nintendo specifically.
Going back to whether the games are rushed or not, I don't know if they took the 3 months, game's been out for 3 months, and this update was on November 1st. I don't know if people would feel better about that. Like the games are still kind of a mess today, and I'm sure there are some people listening that are like, I haven't had any of these issues, or like everything runs fine for me, but like it doesn't look any better, right?
Right.
It's still frame ratey. To be fair, I haven't fallen through the floor since.
I mean, I think there is, if they had come out with this patch in the middle of December, people would have felt that they were being way more responsive than the beginning or the end of February, beginning of March. Because I think a lot of people feel this was very underwhelming. Like, there are bigger fish to fry, and this is what you've done. This feels like the box fixes feels like you could have done that back in December, and that would have been a bigger win than 3 months into the game, when a lot of people are like, well, who are like me, like, the game has kind of turned me off, and your response time of fixing things has been slow, and you still haven't really fixed the things that I do. Well,
they did add a couple new things, which I think were probably scheduled to line up with Pokemon Day anyways. I
Right.
think this was their little surprise free update for Pokemon Day. We'll get to that after the break, but we will be right back. And we are back from our break. Okay, so we talked about this last week. Or a couple days ago, I guess. They added Walking Wake and Iron Leaves as new Paradox Pokemon to Scarlet and Violet. They exist. They'll be here until March 12th, I think. And then I would assume that we'll get a new 7-star or a new something when those end. I wouldn't be surprised if when this podcast goes up, we'll know what that is. But also, who knows? Who knows? They're on their own timeline here.
Janine is also on vacation, so
yeah. So I think everyone is maybe in agreement that was going to come Pokemon Day regardless of issues or not. I think the other thing that was going to come Pokemon Day regardless of issues or not is the Vivillon compatibility that they added. So now, I think the one that was in the game currently was the fancy pattern, if I remember.
Is it fancy or is it modern?
It's not modern.
Modern is like blue, isn't it?
Modern is red and blue, I think.
Oh, modern is red and blue from southeastern U.S. I have some Vivillon up here. There's too many of them. Vivillon. So they added compatibility to Pokemon Go, which I think is really great. I think that's overall a positive. I think it's a fun way to interact between the two. Ideally, what you do is, just like in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, in Pokemon Go, there's a little switch button that appears. In Scarlet and Violet, if you go under Mystery Gift and you go to that, they added Connect to Pokemon Go. Ideally, you connect between the two. And then in Pokemon Go, you pick one of your postcards, and then you send it to your Switch game. You still keep the postcard in the mobile version, so you don't lose it. So if you had a postcard from, I don't know, Will, who is in Hawaii right now, and then you send that postcard to your... I don't think he sent me a postcard now that I'm thinking about this.
No.
I've gotten a couple.
Oh, my goodness. So if Will sent you a postcard from Hawaii, you would then send that to your copy of Scarlet and Violet.
I sent some people postcards from Florida, so...
Oh, boy. Thank you for taking the risk of going to Florida, Greg.
I paid for the risk. I took going to Florida, so let's...
So Hawaii would give you the Ocean Vivillon, and then you, instead of the current only single Vivillon that would spawn in Scarlet and Violet, the Ocean ones would start spawning for 24 hours. So this is really great because it encourages you to play Pokemon Go. If you do play Pokemon Go and you like the Vivillon stuff, which I think most players in Pokemon Go really did like the Vivillon stuff that they did. It's like the one win Niantic had in the last 12 months. You can then move those over, and then you can shiny hunt them or just collect them. I think this is the first time ever, too, not including Pokemon Go, that realistically you could get every Vivillon with your own trainer ID. You could collect Vivillon through Pokemon Home. You could collect them through X and Y, but like X and Y had that weird like 3DS specific thing where it pinpointed where your 3DS was originally powered on. And so this is ultimately the first time to get pretty much all of them with your own trainer ID.
And in luxury balls.
Except for the Pokeball pattern.
Yeah.
Except for which was only event anyways.
Which is going to be the 7-star raid.
Perfect. So they added that, which was a very nice surprise.
It's also cool that when you are union circling with people who have invited different Vivillon to their Paldea regions, then you can see all of the different Vivillon at the same time. Yeah. You can host little catch parties.
Surprisingly, there was no updates or bug fixes to co-op. I'm still shocked to the day that the co-op works. I mean...
I've had fun with it.
Yeah. So that is not in the game, and that works. I've tried it, and it seems fine, except there was a Reddit post that popped up that said that they were doing the Vivillon stuff, and they went to boot up their game, and it was gone. Everything was gone. It acted like a brand new game when they booted it up. And of course, Reddit comments don't know how to read other Reddit comments, and there's 800 comments being like, did you try the X up B recovery thing? And they were like, yes. And I, bless their soul, they're responding to every single one of them. But
Yeah, I just go up and say, edit. I've tried the thing.
Yeah.
They did.
So for those that don't know, there's like an emergency recovery in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet if you live in the Wild West and you don't have autosave on, for whatever weird reason, Pokemon fans are against autosave, even though like literally every single game in the entire world autosave. But if you like to live on the edge of your seat in this very buggy mess that is Scarlet and Violet, and you're bold enough to turn off autosave and your game crashes, if on the title menu you press a combination of buttons, I think it's X, B, and up, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, it will open up a recovery menu, and that recovery menu will show you a recent save that the game decided to save at that you could restore. And that doesn't work if you boot up your game and it thinks it's a brand new video game. That wouldn't work because there would be no recovery saves.
I think that
Correct.
it's more that you boot it up and it boots up to a screen that says save data couldn't be recognized, and that you can make a new game.
Oh, I didn't see that screen.
Yeah, you can make a new game on a different profile. And what shows up when you try to boot up your game on your profile is that screen saying save data can't be recognized. And so there are some people really, really hoping that if this can be fixed, that if they just don't delete their save data,
Got it.
then maybe they'll be able to get back in someday.
Yeah. And just a side note, the way that the game decides whether or not to recover your data with the emergency menu is usually just by talking to like a Nurse Joy. That's usually when the game decides to save on its own in the background without telling you. So that's usually where it pulls the recovery from, is either like entering a building, not flying, but entering a building and or talking to Nurse Joy are like the two almost guaranteed save points. Anyways,
Not applicably here.
so because the person said they did Vivian last, a bunch of people were like, don't do the Vivian because that's causing you to lose the data. There were a couple people, when I say a couple, I really mean like I read the whole thread because I wanted to see if there was answers. When I say a couple, I mean like 3 or 4 people that were like, they were also doing the Vivian, then it happened. And then if you dive deeper, there were a bunch of people that said they never even touched the Vivian. They don't even play Pokemon Go, and they had the same issue.
And it happened right after they booted up, after they had updated.
And then Mr. Joe Sarabee, tested the Vivian on a other non-main account that he had, and from his research, it didn't seem to be the Vivian causing the problem. Because he thought maybe that if there were 2 different Vivians, because the game couldn't remember which one to load, that was inherently causing the data corruption, and he got it to have 2 different Vivians on the same screen. But also, a handful of people said they didn't even touch the Vivian, they're having the same issue, so it's really hard to say that, like, oh, the Vivian's causing the issue when we know a handful of people never even touched it and they're having the same exact issue. So I think more likely it would just be something to do with 1.2 and not specifically Vivian.
I do think it is definitely an update issue, that if you haven't updated, this hasn't been an issue. But the way I've been reading it, and I've been keeping a close eye on that thread because I'm very scared of this kind of thing happening, is that it seems to be something that happens either right after you get the update or right after you connect and do the Vivian thing and then save and close your game, and then you boot it up to find this screen and find that you can't access your save file anymore. This does seem like it's still a very small number of people. So far, only 25, 30 people, but still more every day. But right now, I am mostly just not doing the Vivian stuff myself, and I don't know. If you want to do it, I would say maybe make a side profile for it.
Well, I mean,
I don't
it's
think
not like
avoiding
it's going
the Vivians
away, right? Like, they're not going to remove the functionality. You can wait.
Yeah, but again,
yeah, but you want to get the Gimme Ghoul stuff in Go. potentially, if you are someone who wants to get the Gimme Ghoul stuff and
Oh,
go.
I mean, I want the Gimme Ghoul stuff. But this is why I don't want to like fearmonger, because there's literally nothing. We can't even say it's the Vivian stuff, because we know that there's a handful of people that never touched it that have the same issue, right? Like, so it's like, I can't even be like, well, play the entire game, just don't do Vivian, because.
But I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to say how honest people are, how much they're remembering. They may have done the Vivian thing and said, "Oh, it happened after that 24-hour thing had passed." Like, again, to draw conclusions from people, anecdotal evidence is not a great way to draw conclusions about what is actually happening. So, I mean, proceed with caution, but the things that
what's
people
the caution?
seem
Like, you just play the game,
yeah,
right?
the
Like,
people seem to think that the connection is a common thread for a lot of people. So if you can wait a week to see if Nintendo actually responds and says, "Oh, we've found the bug and we fixed it," or "We've been able to replicate the bug and we fixed it," like, I don't think there's any problem of saying, don't do the Vivian thing for a week to see, because we have a lot of people saying it's very specifically tied to that.
not a lot of people, less than 10.
Yeah, but how many people are reporting the bug?
Somewhere between 20 and 30, I think, at this point.
I mean, that's
In
a
one
third
place.
of the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's also equal amount of people saying they never touched Vivian. They never interacted with it at all. They don't even have Pokemon Go accounts.
I think it's very possible that this could be happening at two different points. That it could be happening either when you do the Vivian stuff or right after the update.
Right. So, like, I've done the update. I've done the Vivian stuff twice. I haven't had any issues. I'm not saying, like, okay, like, I'm just saying that we cannot, no one can give you, like,
Right.
don't
Yeah.
do this.
And it's a
because
very, very small number of people so far.
Right. So, like,
But it is
I guess
growing.
if you're worried, just don't play the game. But I don't want to tell people not to play the game. Right?
I mean,
right? Like, we just don't know what's causing it.
Yeah, I mean, if you are concerned, I will say this: if you are concerned, don't play the game for a week. Like, you can survive a week, and hopefully
Hopefully
that
they
will
update it that quickly.
hopefully they will acknowledge it within the week. Otherwise, at that point, if they can't track it down in a week to say this is what's causing that bug, then it's not very widespread, and you are just taking the risk that an unknown amount of factors that they can't track down is causing it.
Right. There's so many questions. Like if I had the energy and also the willpower to post on Reddit, the first thing I would be like is, are you using Android or iOS? Right? Like, can we narrow that down? Like, are you saving your game data to the SD card or to the Switch? Do you even have an SD card? Like, there are so many questions
Right.
that could have been asked in that thread, especially by the original poster. Like, the original poster could have been like, I did Vivian last. This is the type of Switch I had. This is the type of phone I had. This is the like there's
They're
just
doing that in the comments. I want to give a little bit of credit to the original poster because they keep commenting, they keep updating, they keep gathering these things and saying that, yes, both people who have SD card save files, people who have physical game cartridges, people who've used Android, people who've used iOS, all of these kinds of people are getting the issue. So I want to give a little bit of credit to the original poster.
okay,
This kind
because
of stuff is
I read
being
that the
asked.
day it came out, and there was like
Yeah.
400
I'm refreshing
comments.
it all the time.
Okay, but that goes back to, like, again, I don't want to come off as fear mongering like some people and be like, well, just don't play the game or the game is busted, because, like, there's
And that's fair.
nothing that is narrowing it down to what it could be. When Sword and Shield first came out, there was an issue where the game would crash or you would lose everything, right? And that was the National Dex people back at the time were, like, looking for anything to throw Sword and Shield under the bus because they absolutely hated it. And they were like, look, Game Freak can't even program a proper game and it's crashing. There were 5 other games having the same issue. One of them being Super Smash Brothers, whatever the one on Switch is. I'm sorry, I can't remember it because I'm not Smash. But there was Smash Brothers, Sword and Shield, and then 3 other games. And it had nothing to do with those games. It had to do with people not formatting the SD card in the proper way the SD card needs to be formatted for the Nintendo Switch. Therefore, the game data would eventually get corrupted. And again, I have no clue if that is related to this update where like maybe their SD card is not formatted correctly and finally the update did that. So it's tough. Like there will always be issues with like I remember specifically one of my mods in Twitch when Pokemon Home updated for BDSP and for Legends. They went to update it, they got completely stuck, and it bricked their entire Switch system. They lost everything. Everything from Sword and Shield, everything from BDSP, which probably actually was probably a good thing there. Everything from Legends, everything from Let's Go Pikachu, every other non-Pokemon game they had, they lost because the update to Pokemon Home that they were downloading bricked their system. And I am sure that happened to other people, but I'm also sure that we can't 100% narrow it down to Pokemon Home causing that issue. It could have just been the SD card failed at that moment in time, and that SD card failing when the download happened caused it to brick. Again, we just spent the first 45 minutes of this episode being like, this update didn't seem super great, and this update seemed bad. But we just don't have enough data here to be like Vivian or the 1.2 update is causing the issue. It sucks. It super sucks, and hopefully they say something, but I don't know. Like, are people suddenly getting it now? Or, I mean, if people are getting it specifically after updating to 1.2, that would be more realistic because people might not just be updating. But, like, people might have picked the game up after a week and, like, okay, I have to do the update now to log back in.
I'm pretty sure all of them have been after 1.2. I'm pretty sure every single one has.
Yeah.
But it's still a very small number of people.
Right. And there's a lot of games that are sold, right? So, like, the more people that own the game, the more issues you hear from a small amount just because there are more people. Like, what did Sword and Shield sold, like, what, 26 million? And we're 3 months out, and Scarlet and Violet have sold 23 million or something insane like that. Yeah, and I can't even be like... We can't even on the show be like, well, do this, this, and this before you start up to ensure like the best performance. Like
we don't know.
Like make sure you have a good SD card. I have no clue. Obviously, this issue would probably, if Pokemon Home existed at this point, we could be like, hey, move all your good Pokemon to Pokemon Home, continue playing the game. If it crashed, at least your Pokemon are safe. But Pokemon Home doesn't exist right now. They said spring, and it's not spring yet.
That's my big worry. I want to keep my distribution Pokemon safe.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
But it is what it is, and hopefully they acknowledge it. Hopefully something happens, and hopefully, maybe, those people who've had it happen can get it reversed. That is the ultimate hope there.
Yep.
I have no hope in reversal. As somebody who worked for a big tech company for 5 years and watched people lose their data every single day, that's
fair.
There's not a lot of reversal that happens when data gets corrupted.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully, maybe.
Hey, if there's a cloud, something maybe sometimes, but rarely, no.
Yeah. Again, that probably leads to a bigger question of like why Pokemon doesn't sync to Nintendo Cloud, but
yeah,
I think
there's a lot of questions.
I think that's also like send all your Pokemon to home, restore from the cloud backup 10 minutes ago. Now you have double of every Pokemon within minutes. And they would have to work to implement a system like that. Why would they do that when they could just charge you $15 a year to use their dedicated system? I don't know. I'm not defending it. It sucks.
Just you're not expecting a great outcome.
No.
I really don't expect
a ton of people.
I don't expect a recovery feature. And I don't remember, Greg, the Kalos thing when Lumio City had that bug where it would crash.
Yeah, that's what this reminded me of.
There was no recovery feature.
There was no
either.
recovery from that.
Yep.
That was a dead and gone.
But how long did it take for reports to pop up of like, within a week, I think.
It was within a week, and
And
they
then it took them
they acknowledged it pretty fast.
And then they fixed it within another week, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost been a week since 1.2. So if it is an actual issue with 1.2, hopefully they would acknowledge it this week.
Yeah.
And then if they did, well, with Lumio City, that was an easy fix. It was don't save in Lumio City.
Lumio City. Well, specifically, don't save outside in Lumio City, because you could save in the Pokemon Center, and it was fine. It was
Yes,
If
the
you were
Pokemon Center was
outside
the
in
safe
the
spot.
big city and you saved, you were boned.
Okay, so here's my advice. If your game is still working as of this recording, just keep saving in that same spot. If you end your session, just go to the
Just go
spot
right
that seemed
back
to
to where you
work
were. Put
and
marks.
save there.
Put marks on the floor. Yeah,
Do you guys save in the same spot, though? I feel like I usually fly to a Pokemon Center and then save there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I save wherever.
I rarely move. So I've been at the same Pokemon Center for a month and a half.
I'm not sure I've ever saved at a Pokemon Center. Maybe once during my playthrough.
I can't.
Yeah,
get,
I feel like I
cannot
always-
get rid of that habit that I had from them. So because of the old games, you had to be in a Pokemon Center to connect to. I think it was
Trading and
Stadium,
battling or stuff.
and I think it was also Coliseum. You had to be in a Pokemon Center. I just have always saved there, and I have never bothered to break that habit because why? I usually go heal up, and then I'm like, well, I'm done. Save. It's the same thing I do in Final Fantasy XIV. I will fly back to the main city, go get my armor repaired, and then log out. Like, these are the things that I just do. This is my habit.
Yeah, I mean, I always used to go to the very center of the Pokeball or as close as I could get in the old games and save in the Pokemon Center. But ever since it's been on the Switch, it's just wherever.
It's just all bets are off now.
Yeah, I think in Legends I would always save in the town near the gate.
Yeah.
Huh.
I would sometimes save in my house
Oh, I never saved in my house.
because that was like being in a Pokemon Center.
Yeah, I think I saved in my house here and there. But most of the time, no. I had a funny habit in Legends that whenever I would go to report my Pokédex things or go to report to my higher-ups, I would always make sure to go and change back into my uniform before doing that. So I went into my house in Legends all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of your house, let's talk about Pokemon Sleep real quick. Oh, where's my Pokemon Sleep news?
We're skipping over my thoughts on the trailer. It's even on the notes.
Oh, it's on the notes? Yeah, Greg, as I find my sleep notes, I don't know where I put them. What were your thoughts on the trailer?
It was fine. I'm excited for the new legendaries. I'm not excited at fall and winter for timings. I'm a little bummed that they're both like, you go on an exchange student, like you're going somewhere else. I'm kind of mad on the fact that the first one doesn't answer any of the open-ended questions that we have for Area Zero, and that will hopefully happen in winter. I find it a little weird that they're like, well, we're done with Spain, we're going back to Japan for the first thing. Like, you're now a foreign exchange student, and we're sending you somewhere completely different.
They heard people wanted those Johto remakes.
I think the new legendaries look cool. I think the Pokemon that they showed look cool. I'm curious if they're going to follow. It feels like they're following sort of the same path of one being more competitive focused and one being more legendary focused. I didn't get a great sense that they're dividing the storylines amongst the two, that they're similarly following the Armor and Crown Tundra feel of them. I think the new outfits are bad. They're nothing burger. Like these.
Are you talking about the free outfits that you
The
get?
free school outfits are bad.
Just more
Or
uniforms.
not
They're just more
free.
boring
You have
uniforms.
to buy the DLC.
Yeah, I mean, you have to buy the DLC. I think the new turtle looks great. I think the people that are like flipping out that there will not be any new Pokemon types because of the back of a legendary turtle, ignoring the fact that there's stuff on the sides. Like, look, people, you are working yourselves up into a frenzy for no good reason. Like, you are basing things off of nothing. I'm excited for Pokemon Concierge. I think that looks cute. I'm very much on the fence about Pokemon Sleep. They broke Unite terribly. Don't care about Cafe Remix. I think Masters
Well, if you don't connect Vivian to Unite, I think it's okay.
It's not. It's so broken right now. I like the pairs that they introduced for Masters EX. I think that part was really good. And we'll talk about Sleep. Overall, I was like, oh, okay. This is what I expected exactly from this, and there was nothing in there that apart from Pokemon Concierge, which I thought, oh, you're making something brand new. I guess that was cool, but everything else is like, this is pretty much what I expected, and I'm not overly wowed by any of it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people were wowed about Sleep. I felt Sleep was actually 50-50, honestly. What a bad transition. I felt like either you were into Sleep or you were upset that Sleep took so much time out of this presents. You were on either end of the fence. So they first announced Sleep in May of 2019. It is scheduled to officially launch in summer of 2023 for iOS and Android. Sorry, Windows Phone users. The Pokemon Go Plus is real. It's coming out. It is at the...
It's big.
It's big. It is obnoxiously big. Like,
I mean,
I pre-ordered one because I want the ability to use other balls when I'm walking around the Mall of America, and I do not care about catching anymore. And the fact that I run out of regular Pokeballs and it's like, we're done, has always made me mad. So I ordered it just for that. But the size of it makes me feel self-conscious about, I want to hide it in a pocket so that people don't see me clicking this giant weird button all the time.
I want to see you click it.
The size of it feels good for Pokemon Sleep and bad for Pokemon Go.
Correct. And since I am still iffy about Sleep and what they're doing with my privacy data,
I mean, I have a case on this. As you can see, the case is starting to shift. I'm sorry, audio listeners. I'm just holding up a Pokeball Plus, the one for Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. This is pretty big, though.
Yeah.
it's big and round, and you can hold it easily in the palm of your hand. Like, close it in your hand. Well, yours is too big because you put another thing around it. But you can hold it in your hand, and it looks like you're holding a tiny ball. Like, it is hidden in the palm of your hand. This thing does not easily... It is the size of the palm of your hand, from what I can tell.
It's that big, is it? They got measurements
It's pretty
somewhere.
big. It is.
I thought we were going to talk about the price, not the size of it.
Well, the price is another thing altogether. It's overpriced. But it is a big, chunky thing.
Yeah, using it for Pokemon Sleep, I'm comfortable with the size. Using it for Pokemon Go, it's gonna be a little inconvenient, except for the fact that it sounds like it will be able to auto throw normal Pokeballs. So if I'm going to use normal Pokeballs, I think I could just put it in a bag or put it in a pocket if I had pockets that size.
Yeah.
I mean,
Does it have
it's
measurements
2.5 inches in diameter. That's big.
Yes. It weighs 0.29 pounds.
And it's thick. It's big and it's thick.
So it is more expensive than I thought it was going to be. If we recall the Pokemon Go Plus, which is Hannah as being featured here again. Sorry, audio listeners. It's just the you don't have to. You can come to YouTube if you want. It's just the Pokeball. We've seen it for like 7 years. You've seen it. That device was $35 originally when it came out. And if you remember correctly, it sold out instantly. It sold out everywhere. And it instantly went up to $100, $120 on eBay and stuff. Now, the nice thing about that device is you could just order a German one or a Japanese one or a Korean one because they were exactly the same. The only thing difference was the box it came in. There were fake ones that went around at some point, but they're impossible to find now. It was introduced 7 years ago. Pokemon Go is 7 years, I think, old. Maybe 8.
Nearing it.
Yeah. And then when Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee came out, the Pokemon Go, the Pokeball Plus, these names are very cleverly named, that came out, and that worked with Pokemon Go, and that was $50. $15 more expensive. On the flip side, though,
It's a whole controller.
it's a whole it's a whole
It's a whole Joy-Con.
It worked with Poke. It was a whole controller that worked,
And it had a Mew in it.
and it had a Mew in it. That was the controversy of paying $50 for a Mew. We cannot go down that argument again.
We're not going back into that.
Those people were wrong. Now this is $55, and I will say, I'm very happy that it has USB-C, which the Pokeball
Yes.
Go Plus also had USB-C. I would always pay extra for that instead of what micro USB or whatever people are using. This does have sleep sensing in it. I don't know how much that is worth, but obviously this can still go under your pillow.
You don't need a whole lot for sleep sensing.
And then you
Does
have
it go
the
under your
functionality.
pillow, or is it supposed to go just next to you?
I thought they said under originally when
I
they
feel
showed
like
it.
under your
In
pillow,
the
you're rolling
trailers,
on.
they show it as just next to
Yeah,
you.
'cause
Well,
you're
they gotta
rolling
show
on
it
that
next to you.
side.
They gotta get it in the shot.
And my concern is I have dogs. So how is it going to register
Yeah.
my dogs walking around on the bed as me
Your
not
dog's
sleeping
just
well?
gonna eat it, isn't he?
No.
He's gonna, like chew on it, like pick it up and take it somewhere.
Why would they? They don't grab our stuff. Well, Kaiju grabs gloves, but they don't tend to They've never shown any interest in I'm going to bite that controller or I'm going to eat those wires. They do have a sense of that's not
I'm
a
gonna
thing
bite
we
that
should
mouse.
do. They're not cats.
The whole it can use great balls, ultra balls. That has nothing to do with the price. That's just
finally fixing a bug for as far as I'm concerned. But of course, it got me to buy it.
and apparently there's a speaker in it too, which you could say the Pokeball. The first one doesn't have any sound, right? I don't remember.
No,
I think it
not that I
vibrates. though.
remember.
It does vibrate.
The Pokeball Plus, it would light up per which Pokemon you. I don't know if people knew this, but if you put a Pikachu in it, it would light up yellow. If you put a Bulbasaur in it, it would light up green. I don't know if anyone actually knew that, but that worked. It would also have the Pokemon's cry. So if you put Zacian in it, I actually don't know what color Zacian would light up. I would assume a silver, but maybe a blue. But it would make Zacian's cry. And then they all vibrate. I'm assuming this vibrates. It doesn't actually say if this vibrates. I'm assuming this vibrates, though.
Probably for Pokemon Go, hopefully not for Pokemon Sleep.
Unless it vibrates to wake you up.
You
That
think there's
could
going to
be
be an
nice.
alarm function?
Yeah.
There
They said
is.
that Pikachu will wake you up. He'll go Pika Pika.
And that you can earn different alarms as you play the game more.
Yeah. So now that this device is big. Maybe that girl's hand is just very tiny.
No, she is 7'8".
So it sounds like we all got it. It did sell out instantly the first day, and then finally GameStop and Target got them in stock. As of recording this, GameStop still has pre-orders open. It's supposed to come out July 14th or July 15th. I did pre-order a couple just because I do think once I think obviously you can pre-order it right now, at least of this recording, but I do think the impulse buy for Go players once it's in a store will make it hard to find.
Yeah.
For maybe a month or two. So if you are a Go player or if you really want to get into Sleep, I do encourage pre-ordering it. I don't work for I'm getting no commission off this. I'm just saying if you're looking for this device, maybe pre-order it because based on the last two devices, they were
very
hard to find
otherwise.
for quite a while. And then when they were easier to find, they became hard to find very quickly after. So $55 is a bit of money, but you're getting a physical hardware device that works with at least we know 2 apps, and one app it's pretty important for, which is the Sleep app. An easy pass though if you don't play Pokemon Go or you don't plan on playing Pokemon Sleep. A very easy save your $55. I think Sleep is exactly what I thought they were going to show, though. When they showed it, I was like,
Yeah.
there's no surprises here.
No.
Yep,
Yeah.
you unlock different Pokemon. Yep, it can wake you up. Yep, you get a bar graph when you're done. It's cool that, you get a free Snorlax with a sleep cap in Pokemon Go, I guess. $55 for a
$55 for
Snorlax.
a hat.
It's
Snorlax
not
is
even
gonna
a
be
mythical
shiny.
Pokemon.
not even a
They used to
mythical.
give us. So yeah, if you want Snorlax with a hat, I don't know, $55 for just that. Anyways, I hope there's more surprises with Sleep. I hope
They have said that there will be other functionality related to Pokemon Go.
Oh, okay.
They have said that. That was in the trailer. No idea what it's going to be, but there is going to be more sleep functionality related to Pokemon Go. That is coming.
I think her hand is tiny.
She is 8'7". She's
Pokemon
holding a
Sleep
plate.
is exactly what I expected it to be,
Yeah.
and I wish they hadn't changed the logo.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I'm confused
the
why it's only the
logo
first
is
2 generations
bad.
of Pokemon for the most part.
That's
There
what
aren't a whole
You
lot.
gotta pay extra, Hannah. You gotta pay. Oh, wait. Maybe that is actually true.
I want there to be Wooloo in the Sleep game. Right after Pokemon Sleep was announced, I went and bought Wooloo pajamas off the Pokemon Center website, and I want Wooloo in my Sleep game.
I was trying to make a very low-hanging fruit joke about paying for extra Pokemon, but there's no way this game doesn't have
No,
microtransactions,
this is a
right?
microtransaction. Well, they could give it to you for free because they're selling your life's blood to corporate America.
Yeah. But even Magikarp Jump, I think Magikarp
was
Jump was
the-
free, right?
Magikarp Jump was free. What was the logo before?
It was just, it didn't have the Snorlax in it.
It wasn't as blue.
Magikarp Jump, I think I only put $5 or maybe $6 into. There was like a first week package, like welcome kit or something that was like $5, and I think I bought that.
You always fall for that, Chef. Always.
Yeah, look, I wanted.
Always fall for, like, this gets me nothing, but I'm going to pay $5 because
It
you are
gave
like
me
you are the
something.
Pokemon
Greg,
tax.
I don't remember what it gave me, but because I gave them $5, Pokemon Company believed in Select Button, and they were like, "Look it, this dude gave him $5. Make Pokemon Sleep. You've made $5 from this app from this one guy. We trust you with more Pokemon software." That was me. I did that. I made Pokemon Sleep a reality because I
they're like,
supported.
this is how the
Magikarp
conversation
Jump.
went. There are suckers who'll pay for this. Oh, absolutely. You think we can sucker them into other things? For sure. They paid $5 for a game where all you do is jump, and you could have just done that for free. Just for free. You could go and feed fish and make them jump out of the water, literally for free at any lake in a large upper Midwestern area. But this sucker said, yeah, I'll pay $5 for that. I'll play it for 2 days. $5, I'll throw it on a fire. Of course, yeah.
I don't know what I paid for.
Microtransaction Sleep up to 1,000,000%.
Magikarp Jump is a top 20 Pokemon game, and there's probably at least 80 Pokemon games.
A lot of people do have fond memories of it. A good time for a short while.
I would play Magic if I was forced on an island and my choices were Colosseum, Gale of Darkness, and Magikarp Jump. I wouldn't even think about it. Magikarp Jump is the game I'm picking. You get like a blue Magikarp in that game. It's tight. You get a pink one. You get a black Magikarp. When is that stuff going to come to Scarlet and Violet? When can I get
Never.
different?
Those are all regional forms that they aren't telling you about.
I'm excited for Sleep. I think that's
One other thing about Sleep that I'm curious about is that they say that you can get these different Pokemon by sleeping in different sleeping styles. And I'm very curious if you're someone who just sleeps consistently in the same way, which is supposedly the best way to sleep, if you're going to be bad at this game.
Yeah, what does that mean? What does sleeping
No
in different
idea.
sleeping styles mean?
I don't know.
No idea.
You must
there's
be
a
on your
lot
back.
of
How would it know?
Well, different timing, different
Yeah.
movement.
So I have the Google. I don't even know what they're called. Nest Display 2 that has sleep tracking in it. So so the Google Nest Display. I don't even know what they're called. They're like it's like it looks like a tiny iPad that's like stuck that you can't pick up and move because it plugs into the wall directly. There's like,
Yeah.
and then it shows you like your lights are on, or you can be like, hey, I don't want to activate people's things. You can be like, hey, thingy, like turn
Hey,
up the
thingy.
temperature in the house, right? And it shows you if your doors are unlocked. It shows you all that. The second one that it came out with had sleep sensing in it. So there's a little sensor at the top, and there's like a little plastic switch you can technically cover it with if you're concerned about privacy. Not that that matters. Google already knows everything about you. That it watches you sleep, and then in the morning, it'll say like, it's pretty accurate too. It'll say like, you moved around from here. It sends it to your phone too.
Is it a camera or is it just
It's not a
microphone?
camera.
Okay.
It's like a IR.
Oh, motion sensor kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like a motion sensor thing.
It's not a camera.
Yeah, wink, wink. But it's pretty accurate, except for the fact that, like, sometimes if I got up, it would read the other person and still think I'm sleeping, right? Because it's just looking across the bed. And then sometimes it would be like, you moved a lot. And I was like, no, that was my cat. That
that's
kept
the
like
thing.
running.
I have dogs.
Right.
That's the reason that the most accurate sleep trackers are going to be something like an Apple Watch or something like a Ring, things that are on your person specifically.
Yeah.
And this is not going to be that. It's not going to be as accurate as things like that.
Yeah, and I was pretty like okay with it for like a week or two, and then I just stopped looking at it because I couldn't do anything with the data. Like, you slept terribly. I didn't need you to tell me that.
Yeah, I know,
feel
I'm
terrible
tired.
right now.
I feel bad. Thanks.
And it's like, well, sleep better. I was like,
How?
okay, I didn't
Why?
like. I'm sorry, I got into a fist fight at Target today. I don't know how to sleep better after that. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like you can't. It's like, well, sleep better. It's like, well, my day was super stressful. I don't know how to not have a super stressful day and then think about it before I'm falling asleep, right? That being said, you know, I've tried sleep things in the past. I've tried to wear like a wristband thing to bed. I've tried the Apple. I can't sleep with an Apple Watch. I just. Some people can. I cannot.
I am a person. I learned this with earrings, and I learned this with rings. That I will take them off in the middle of the night because I'm tired. I'm asleep, but I'm like, why are these things here? And I will rip them off. I've ripped earrings out of my ears. I've ripped rings off my fingers. I need to be in a very specific way, and like having something on my wrist is a no-go because I will just pull it off and chuck it across the room.
So I am excited for sleep, but like I said on the show probably a couple weeks ago, I'm more excited just for the plus itself. Because even if sleep is a bust for me, I feel like I still have this product I can use with another app.
And it's nice that they did make some improvements to it.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see. I'll compare the plus to the Google thingy. I don't even know what the Google thing's called, but I'll compare
Google
the two
Sleep
to see.
probably is.
Yeah,
Probably.
I don't know what they call it.
Google Snooze.
All right, last bit of news here. I know there's a bunch of news. I know we really didn't talk about Unite or anything like that. It's just
Unite's broken. Well, it's
Yeah, there you
it's
go.
almost slightly fixed now because they did finally put an emergency hotfix in for Zacian.
the old emergency hotfix.
Yeah, because it was bugged.
I think we're 3 for 3 for pretty good community days this year. Knowing that we might also get Fennekin and we also might get Froakie, which, all right, look, I know there's like 20 people out there that like Fennekin, but a lot of people like Froakie. Like Greninja's
I love Fennekin, baby.
Greninja's very popular. I think this is a great community day. This is the Slowpoke and Galarian Slowpoke Community Day on March 18th from 2 to 5. And I think this community day would have been a big bust for a lot of people if it was just slow.